Hi, my name is Lynn, and I'm going to be talking to you about a few ways that you can work with wire for your jewelry making. I'm going to be doing very basic loops and basic wire wrap just to show you the technique, which I think is very useful when you first start to make jewelry. Now, when you want to just do a simple loop, and I'm working with 20 gauge wire, I'm gonna snip the end off so it's nice and flat. To do that, I cut on the side of the flush cutter that is closed. Whereas if you turn it over, you see that little angle going in, that little valley. We don't want to cut on that side because it's going to make a sharp point. So we cut on this side when we want this piece of the wire to have a nice flat ending. Okay, so for a simple loop, we can just grip the end of the wire with the round nose pliers and just bend until it meets. Now you'll see that I have what looks like the letter P, but we want it centered so that it looks like a lollipop. So to do that, I'm going to grip the interior of my eye with my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to make a slight bend. So see how that's centered right in the middle? So just like a lollipop. This is the standard eye loop. The only thing I don't like about the eye loop is that with pressure and tugging, it can open up. So I'm going to show you how to do a basic wire wrap, which is much more secure. So on the other end of my wire, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to make a 90-degree bend. Now it doesn't matter which way you go. The main thing is that you end up with this 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to position it so that the bottom jaw is flush up in that 90-degree angle. The top is right above. So not like this, but like this. If you want to make small loops, go closer to the tip. And if you want to make larger loops, bring it further in. So I'm just going to go right in the middle. I'm going to take the tail and pressing it against the roundness of the top jaw, I'm going to bring it right over the top, and I'm going to stop at this point. Now you can either release and flip, or you can release and move it to the bottom jaw. This allows you to bring the tail over to complete the circle. Now to make a really nice wire wrap, you want to see another 90-degree angle or very close to it. I'm just going to twist this just a little bit to get it a little bit more centered. Now I'm going to cover the portion of the eye with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to wrap the tail around the base coming across. I'm going to try to keep my wraps right next to each other. So depending on the thickness of the wire, a few wraps could be sufficient. If it's thick, 1 or 2 wraps will keep this eye closed. If it's thinner wire, 24 or 26 gauge, you might want to do 2 or 3 wraps. Then I'm going to cut off the excess, once again keeping the flush portion of my cutter next to my work. Before I squeeze, I want to make sure I'm not holding anything else. I'm only going to cut off what I don't want. I'm going to cover my work because when you squeeze this little line of wire is going to fly off, and you don't want to get that stuck in the carpet or anywhere else. So I'm going to cover it and squeeze. Now you can either take your chain nose pliers and squeeze along the perimeter to make sure there's no edges sticking up, or you can use a tool that we normally use for crimping. This is a crimping tool. It has 2 slots. One looks like a kidney, the other one looks like an oval. I'm going to use the slot that looks like an oval to press around my wrap. This will help to make sure that no ends are sticking up, and it'll look nice and clean. So this loop is not going to open, whereas this has the potential to. Now if you want to do a simple loop without doing all that wrapping, we can do what's called a double coil or a double ring. So once again, I'm going to hold it in my round nose pliers, and I'm going to twist, and instead of stopping after the first circle, I'm going to continue and do 2 times, center it like a lollipop, and there we have a double coil, which will be a little bit harder to open up than a single loop, but not doing as much work as the wire wrap. This is a good technique to use if you're just doing simple dangles on the end of something. And this is a better technique if you're doing, let's say, a link of chain that you're creating on your own. But that's the basics of looping and wire wrapping.